welcome to another stream. This time on Twitch. Let's go ahead and make sure that's working. Let's see. Yep, okay, we're good. Wow, it's a lot better quality than Facebook, to be honest. Sorry, Facebook. Rip in peace. So I guess we'll see how this works. So for this video, I actually went ahead and wrote, I guess, 2 scripts because improv anything for me that isn't music, well, even with music, is kind of terrible. So for this video, I'll be talking about a piece that I've already made in a way, and that I've actually already posted. In future streams, I plan on actually composing as the stream goes, so that way you can see how that process is, as well as maybe even being a part of it, like the little comments you add in. This should go like this, or this should go like that. Hopefully, that won't turn into a mess. Hopefully. So let's go ahead and get started. This originally, I made this to accompany the jazz piece I posted earlier. It's on Twitch, as well as everything else, called Darling. And that was for a submission to be in a short film. I still haven't submitted it. I need to. And when I love it, I think I like the way it sounds, at least. When I showed a couple of friends, one of them said, in the description, it said sentimental, kind of sad-ish, but classy was the word that really rung out to me. And when I think classy, I think jazz. My friend said maybe classy meant something more along the lines of just a solo piano piece. So I was like, all right, and I came up with an idea real quick, and I posted that. That's on YouTube, my Facebook page, as well as SoundCloud, and you can check that out over there. But as I was making that piece, I was already hearing so many other things that would, in my head, that I wanted so badly to accompany the solo piano, because the solo piano is really great. I like it. I like the progression of it. I may need to turn this up. Hopefully y'all can hear. If you can't hear, just go ahead and turn up your volume. So it's a real simple melody, nothing too crazy. Then right here it kind of drops into then it develops even more, and then on the solo piano I went ahead and had the bass really kind of basically hammer out those notes just to give it more oomph. In the solo piano piece, the bass hits aren't as heavy because I still wanted it to be a bit light. For what the revisited version came to be, I definitely wanted the really percussive sound that comes from just banging the hell out of those keys. Then at the end it comes back to the original little melody, then kind of turns a little sad. So, oh my gosh, I'm at a loss of where to even begin with this. Let's see. So the idea behind the piece originally, so it's supposed to be a love story, and it somehow ends in tragedy. Unfortunately, that was all the information they gave to me. It was just love story, it ends up being a tragedy, make it sentimental, classy, and so on and so forth. So they didn't really give me too much to work with, but I think I was able to come up with something, at least for that. So like I said, in creating this, I began hearing so many other things. We'll go ahead and just start with something really small that I immediately was hearing right off the bat in my head, which was just violins, really. Just super light, just to accompany the keys that are happening. We go a little bit ahead in the cellos. Bass is coming, kind of filling out the composition, the whole spectrum of sound, if you will. And then right here, I really like what the piano is doing on its own, but I did feel that it needed something a little more to kind of just add to it, just to give it a little bit of spice. So that's when I decided to go ahead and add in just a solo violin. And then as that progresses, along with the keys that are kind of developing, it's expanding, becoming a more open voicing as far as what's happening in the chords. I went ahead and decided, so the instruments I use are East West's collection of various symphonic orchestras and so on and so forth, and they have different dynamics, or not so much dynamics, more techniques for each set. So I wanted, instead of whereas the cellos are more legato right here, I wanted them to be really short and highlight that the arpeggiation that's happening here. So that's the build right into where the whole shebang happens. Let's see, a couple of other things I'm using for the entire orchestration. I do have a choir because I love choirs in literally everything. I've never heard a piece or made anything where I didn't think adding a choir would add to the piece. I'm gonna go ahead and check, see what's happening on here, make sure everything is good. Okay, cool. That's not what I wanted to click. Alrighty, we're still good. We're still good to go. Alrighty, so let's continue. So like I was saying, choir, really simple at first, just right here. If you couldn't tell, this is where the climax is. It's massive, in my opinion. I think it's pretty thick. A couple of other things. At first, I wasn't going to add percussion, but then as I heard it, or as I listened to it, I really felt that there were certain little things that could have been added as far as percussion. I definitely wanted a much definitely a bass drum. I wanted something doom, 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 and some rumbling going on. So let me see if I can pull those instruments up. I probably should have labeled these better. Let's see. So let's just play all of those. I believe all of those are my percussion. Real simple, nothing incredibly crazy, but it definitely adds more oomph to the entire composition. One of the things that I definitely wanted to do, or at least have rather, was a really big bass drum sound. So more along the lines of mixing, or sort of a mixing aspect of this. I actually have two bass drums going. One is a field drum sample. Yeah, well, this one's the bass drum Wagner, and then the other one should be the drum concert. I can't remember where that field drum from. I think there is a field drum instrument, but that's not really one. But it is a good one. So I got two bass drums going, and and that really makes those rumbles really thick, and then the hits themselves are massive. Let's see. I went over progression, kick, or not kick. I'm so used to not mixing, but just making metal that I'm calling a bass drum just a straight up kick. Like I said, instruments I use. Oh, one of the more interesting ones might be, let's see, I think it's this one. I actually have a gong going just to hear it. Just to really have that. That really not widening sound, but it's just a very opening sound that I think really adds to the entire texture. So I think I've gone over mostly what I wanted to talk about as far as instrumentation. I really didn't talk too much about the progression. It's nothing really crazy. In fact, it's so uncrazy that I don't even really remember it, which is horrible. So it looks like a lot of it is pretty not chromatic, but it's very stepwise motion. No real crazy leaps between bass notes, chords. Well, except for right here, that's F to A to G to E. It's really not a crazy chord progression when you think about it, especially in relation to the melody, because the melody is a single line. It's just, it doesn't change. It's constant through the chords. So with this, it's a more light feeling. This was kind of the lovey aspect of it, and then bringing in the tragedy that's supposed to happen. This is where this comes in. It's kind of a transition from that happy feel to, oh, something's going on. Then we got a little more not suspense, but more tension happening with the music, as well as whatever should be happening in the story. So that continues on. That is the main. Oops, I still have the film going. That is the main tragedy in my mind. That this point right here, where the chords are just massive, everything's just going, and then at the very end of it, I always kind of, I'm a very I like to bring things back, like motifs or motifs, whatever you want to call them. I never pronounce anything right, so I like to bring things back. So at the very end, just very lightly, but it kind of takes a turn, because this time, due to the tragedy, it's just a little bit sadder. And that's it. Originally, I did have it resolve at the end to the first chord that it is. I believe it's F. Yeah, it's F major. But another suggestion from my friend was that it ended a little too happy because of that. So I figured that left it with just that right amount of tension. And I feel that in my mind, it kind of relates to this idea that we had the love, we had this tragedy occur, then at the very end we have this kind of, it's a little presumptuous to say bittersweet, that it's kind of like we have these memories with these people that are great, and they're kind of, now they're colored by that tragedy, And so that's kind of what I tried to convey with that last little bit. Um, so I think that's basically it with progression, instruments I used. Now I'm gonna go ahead and try to get into some of the things I did mix wise, and I'll tell you right now, I'm not the world's greatest mixer, because that's not my thing. I definitely love composing and I love producing music. Uh, Mixing is cool. I think it's an incredible art form. Uh, I'm sure if I sat down and actually like boom 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 sat down and like actually took the time to really get into the meat and potatoes of it, I could probably pick it up. But at the end of the day, for me, I just want the music. I just want the music to sound good, and I guess that's kind of part of the whole mixing aspect. But I don't know. Maybe I'm an okay mixer. We'll see. We'll see how. We'll see what y'all think once I post it. Because at the end of this stream, I'm posting this song immediately to SoundCloud. In fact, you'll see me post it because I have it ready right here. So some of the things I did mixing wise, a lot of when I'm thinking as far as an orchestra, I'm in my mind I'm trying to imagine where are instruments in relation to the audience, and so or even just in general, even as an instrumentalist within the orchestra, where is everybody situated in the grand scheme of things, and that kind of allows me to set up where panning first of all. So for me, I like when I was in band for such a brief moment in time, uh, there were always trombones to the right. Trombones were always on the right. We always had trumpets right over here. We had flutes, clarinets, tubas were all the way over here in the back. Actually, trumpets were all the way in the back over here. Over here we had saxophones. But saxophones really aren't such a big thing in orchestras. That's usually what violins do. In a band context, that's kind of the role saxophones play. They fill in that the violin gap. That wouldn't be in a in a high school band setting, I should say. Real quick, let's go ahead and make sure this is all. We're still going. Yep, we're still going. We're good. We out here. Thanks. It looks like we got one viewer. I hope that's not me. If it's me, rip. Whatever. Somebody will see this at some point. But if it is somebody else that isn't me, thanks. You're the bomb. So, like I said, panning definitely is something I feel is important when you're mixing in context to an orchestra. So, like I said, I got bones on the left a little bit, not all the way, because of course, when you're listening, you're not hearing any instruments all the way over here, or you're not hearing instruments all the way over here. So bones are on the left, just about halfway as far as this is right here, where it's left, almost panned left, almost halfway. Then we got, what's this? These are my trumpets, I believe. Yes, they are. These are my trumpets. So I think as I'm looking at this, I actually mixed it from the perspective of looking. So the orchestra is in front of me playing this way. I'm not sure why I did that. I probably in my mind I had it mixed up somehow. Because like I said, I usually have the flutes, trombones, tuba, clarinets, saxophones, and trumpets, so on and so forth, percussion in the back. So I must have just somehow mixed that up, which I mean is fine. In this case especially, I like the way it sounds. I mean it's basically just flipping it around. It's not really gonna make too much of a difference. So those are the trumpets. They are panned to the right. These should be my clarinets. These are my clarinets. the clarinets and flutes actually are doubling that piano line, the arpeggiation that's occurring, and then they have like a little bit of a chord holdout. That's a little bit of what you're gonna hear. So that's and then as far as levels, for me, I think when orchestras and bands were always explained to me, it's kind of like a pyramid. There should always be a good foundation of bass line. Then you got your midline, and then your trebles. You got their flutes, trumpets, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of how I go into this mixing. All of the bass instruments, I have a lot more presence, a lot more present than everything else. That way, that foundation is really strong, and that the bass notes are really resonant, like you can really hear them, perhaps even feel them. And like I said, that's kind of how I go into mixing it. The flutes and clarinets, though, because they are a bit lower in volume, just from the samples, I do kind of have to push them a little bit just to even them out with everything else. The one thing that is probably the loudest is probably the choir, and that's simply because I wanted that massive choir presence. And for this, I can go into it one by one and really, break it down by basses, tenors, altos, sopranos, but at the same time, in my mind, nobody's really going up to each section in a choir and miking just them up. That's not. I've never heard of that happening. But then again, what do I know? I've never mic'd up a real choir. So for that, I just definitely wanted to get out the idea more quickly. But really, I think that sounds great. I love the way those choirs sound. Let's see. That was kind of mixing. The one thing I definitely have at the end is a little bit of neutron. And what I've found with neutron and discussed with my engineer friend is that really, you get neutron, utilize those presets, because the presets in them are really awesome. Some of them need just a hair of tweaking. I can't remember which preset this was. I'm pretty sure it was something along the lines of one of these orchestral. I'm not going to click anything because then it's going to take it off and I'm going to lose my mind. But I put one of those on there, tweaked it just a little bit. I think there was a little bass, a little too much bass. And there was definitely too much mid-range. And then it, boom, came out awesome. I loved it. Loved the way it sounded. So once I mixed this and I liked the way it sounded, I went ahead and opened up the, there is the, here we go. This is the Studio One mastering suite, which is pretty cool. My engineer friend Jacob from Loft Studios, he kind of does his whole thing within the project. I like this just because it allows me to kind of separate those two worlds of mixing and mastering. So for this, I really didn't do anything too crazy. Like I said, I did a little bit of Ozone, which is the mastering companion to Neutron. Nothing crazy, obviously, from what you can see. Nothing at all crazy. I don't even have it really pumping super loud, just because especially within an orchestra, you really want those dynamics to come through. You want all of those really soft, quiet bits to be quiet, and once you start compressing them, really trying to make everything loud, you lose that. And You lose it. I was about to say, in my opinion, but you do lose it. Um, and then at the very end of it, I use Quantum Leap Spaces from East West, which is an awesome reverb plugin, and I like the way it makes everything just sound more alive because it puts it in a room that is actually well recorded, created, however you create reverb rooms, IRs, or whatever. Um, it's really great. I love the way it sounds. So, with that, I think we are ready to post this thing. We are ready to get it on the internet. So let's bring. Where'd you go? There you are. Okay, now we're gonna put this here. I'll mess with the description in a bit. We'll go ahead and put this as probably classical. Like I said, I'll mess with the description a little bit later. Let me go ahead and enter this metadata. I don't think this really, matters, but I always try to fill it out just because you never know. And honestly, it's kind of cool to put your name on stuff. So why not? Yes, it does contain explicit content. No, it doesn't. It's literally instruments. Okay, it's saved. Go into my track. And now you can go listen to it. Let's see if I can. There's this here. Let me see if I can post it here. Check out the track here. I can't type. Woo! Alrighty, and I'm posting that there. Alrighty. I think. Ooh, that looks wild. And that's it. That's why I wanted to do the stream. Talk about the piece I made, really made and then made better in my opinion. So go check it out. Comment on it, whatever. I'm gonna be posting it to YouTube as well as Facebook, and wherever I can. Really, feel free to share it. I'll be going live more, like I said earlier, with maybe I'll do more like this where I talk about pieces I've already made. I definitely want to compose on stream. Just do whatever I can, and it's not always going to be classical. Obviously, my big things are more along the lines of jazz and like metal. I don't do too much rock, but I'll probably end up doing that. Maybe we can even try doing some more pop stuff. Anything really. I just like making music, so we'll see what happens with that. Feel free to subscribe or whatever you do on this here Twitch thing. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you enjoyed me talking about writing music and how I do it. Thanks. I'm gonna go ahead and end this. Thanks for